Similar to working with equations, we sometimes have to do some simplification before we find the value of our variable. This is also going to be true when solving inequalities. In some instances, we might have a variable or constants on both sides of the inequality. We might have to combine like terms before we can solve for the variable. And we might have to apply a distributive property. I'm going to go through a few examples of these types of problems. In this first example, we're going to have 3x is greater than or equal to 7x minus 24. Notice that we have a variable on both sides of the equal sign and our constant. We want to make sure that the variable is on one side and everything else is on the other side. To do this, I'm going to first apply the subtraction property and move this 7x over to the other side. To do that, I'm going to subtract 7x to both sides, and I'm going to be left with negative 4x is greater than or equal to negative 24. Now, in a recent video, I talked about what happens when we are multiplying or dividing by a negative number with inequalities. We are going to divide in this case by negative 4 on both sides. What's going to happen though is our inequality symbol is going to be reversed. Instead of greater than and equal to, it's now going to become less than or equal to. And this becomes 6. So if we want to double check to see if this solution is correct, I want to choose a number that is less than 6 and plug it in. I'm going to choose number 1. 1 is less than 6. So if I write 3 times 1, is that greater than or equal to 7 times 1 minus 24? This becomes 3. This becomes 7 minus 24. 7 take away 24 is the same thing as 7 plus a negative 24. This means we're going to take the difference, and that's going to be a negative 17. 3 is in fact greater than a negative 17. So this is my solution, and when I graph it, I'm going to have 5, 6, 7, a closed dot on the 6, and I'm going to darken the line to the left of that number. Any solution along this darkened line is any number is a possible solution for this inequality. So that was an example in which we had variables on both sides of the inequality. Let's look at another example in which we have multiple things going on, let's say, and we've got to work through them to simplify the inequality. We're going to start with 9x plus 2 times the quantity of x plus 2 is greater than 5x. So there is a lot going on here. I have the variable x on both sides. I also have a distributive property set up here. Before I combine my x values or move my x's, I'm going to apply a distributive property By doing so, I'm going to get rid of these parentheses, and that makes it easier for me to move things around. Remember that distributive property means that I'm going to multiply this factor to each term within the parentheses. This is going to become 2x plus 4. The parentheses are gone, and I'm going to write everything out again. Okay, now I have 9x plus 2x plus 4. I can combine like terms, so that becomes 11x plus 4 is greater than 5x. And now what I could do is move this 11x to this side over here, and that would allow that all the x's are on the right side and everything else is going to be on this, or the 4 at least will be on this side. To do that, I'm going to subtract 11x on both sides. I'm going to be left with 4 is greater than a negative 6x. Now in this case, I'm going to divide by negative 6 on both sides. And again, because I'm dividing by a negative number, I'm going to change or reverse the symbol. Instead of 4 is greater than, whatever this amount is, it's going to be less than x. So this is going to be a fraction. I'm going to have a negative 2/3 if I reduce is less than x. Okay, let's double check, because that was, this was a lot that we had to simplify to get to this answer. Now, x is going to be greater than negative 2/3. That's another way to look at this. So I'm going to pick actually a whole number instead of having to deal with a fraction, and a simple number, say 1. 1 is greater than a negative 2/3. And so if I plug in that amount, and I'll go ahead and do that here, I'm going to go times 1, 1 times 1. Now, when I'm checking, I'm going to apply order of operations. I have 2 plus 1 is 3. So I'm going to have 9 plus 2 times 3. Is that greater than 5? Okay. Again, I'm going to multiply, then add. So 9 plus 6, that's going to be 15. That is greater than 5. So because that worked out, this is my solution. And then, of course, I would graph it. And this is the first time we're working with fractions. We've got a negative 2/3. I'm just going to say a negative 3/3 and a negative 1/3. And we're going to have an open circle. X is greater than negative 2/3, so we're going to darken our line that goes to the right. Okay, that was a tricky one. It took a bit of time, but it was definitely worth looking at. There is one other one that we can look at. And this one will also have a few different things for us to do. Here we have 4x minus 3 times 3 minus x is greater than 5 times x minus 6 plus 2x. Okay, now if I look at this on the right side, or excuse me, on the left side, I have a distributive properties scenario, and then maybe combining like terms similar to the right side. I have distributive property, and then I could probably combine some like terms. Okay, so first I'm going to do distributive property, and I'll go ahead and write out the 4x. This is negative 3 times 3. That's going to be a negative 9. And negative 3 times a negative x is a positive 3x. 5 times x is 5x. 5 times a negative 6 is negative 30, and then plus 2x. Now that I've completed distributive property, it looks like I can combine some like terms on both the left side of the inequality and the right side. So positive 4x plus 3x is a positive 7x minus 9, and a positive 5x plus a positive 2x is 7x minus 30. Okay, now notice I have 7x minus 9 is greater than 7x minus 30, and something is kind of looks a little fishy here. If I move, say, this 7x to the left side, I'm going to get a 0x or 0. And that's going to be the same if I move this 7x over here. It's going to cancel each other out. So let's go ahead and move. I'll move this 7x over here, and I'll move this over to this side. So negative 7x, negative 7x, and then I'm going to add 9 to both sides. What we're going to come up with is a 0, and this is also a 0 that cancels, and this cancels, and then we're left with a negative 21. Well, this is what's considered a false inequality or not a solution. So this is, if you come up with this where you lose your variable in the process of simplifying, this means that there's no solution to this inequality. And so you would write no solution, and you wouldn't be able to graph it. Yeah. Anyway, that is that. So these are some examples for you to work through, and by working through these problems, you'll be practicing moving variables or constants from one side to the other side. You'll be practicing the properties of inequality, add, subtract, multiply, divide, and you'll be practicing distributive property as well.